My name doesn't matter. You don't have to believe me, but I lived through everything I'm about to tell you. 3 years ago, I took a job as a night security guard at an old, rundown school on the edge of town. Everyone warned me, never stay alone up there after dark. I laughed it off. I don't laugh anymore. The school was a 3-story building on the outskirts of the city, built decades ago. During the day, it buzzed with kids' laughter. But after 6 p.m., the place turned into a silent graveyard. My job was simple. Check the windows, turn off the lights, keep watch until morning. The first week, nothing happened. The second week, everything changed. On my 3rd day, another guard pulled me aside and said, "Never go into room 13 on the 3rd floor alone." I laughed and asked why. He just said, "You'll understand. Something happened up there," and refused to say another word. That night, I walked past that door for the first time. It was wrapped in a rusted iron chain. At 2 a.m. that night, I was sitting in the records room drinking coffee. Suddenly, from above, from the 3rd floor, I heard footsteps. Slow, steady, deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. The building was supposed to be empty. There was no one else inside, or at least, that's what I believed. I walked toward the stairwell. The footsteps stopped. I switched on my flashlight and slowly climbed up. The 3rd floor was cold, unnaturally cold, like winter had crept inside. The windows were shut, yet my breath came out in fog. My heart was pounding. Without even realizing it, I was walking straight toward room 13. The chain was still there, but under the door, a thin line of pale light flickered, as if someone inside had turned on a lamp. I pressed my ear against the wood. From inside, I heard a girl humming softly, a simple children's tune, but slow and unbearably sad. I stepped back and ran. The next day, I went digging through the school archives. The old librarian gave me a strange look, then told me more than I'd even asked for. In 1994, a fire broke out in that very room. A 13-year-old girl named Sarah died in the blaze. The official record listed it simply as an accident, but the librarian added something else. Rumor had it Sarah was locked inside that room when the fire started. Some said it was no accident, that someone had bolted the door on purpose. No one could ever prove it. The investigation closed within days, and ever since, that room has stayed sealed shut. That night, I went back to work, but this time prepared, with my flashlight, my phone, and a fear I could barely hide. At midnight, the footsteps began again. This time, they were coming toward me. I turned around. At the far end of the corridor, in the shadows, stood the silhouette of a girl. She didn't move. She just stood there, watching me. My hand trembling, I raised my flashlight toward her. The moment the light touched her, she vanished, like smoke dissolving into air. I ran down the hallway, but there was no one. Only cold air and a faint smell of burning still lingering. I reached room 13. This time, the chain lay broken on the floor, as if something inside had torn it apart. The door stood open. I stepped in. The room was still scorched, the walls blackened, the desks burned, exactly as they must have looked in 1994, untouched for 30 years. On the chalkboard in the ash-covered surface, new words appeared, as if written moments ago. Remember me. I spun around, and there she was. Sarah, clear now, her eyes scorched black, her clothes the color of ash. She took a step toward me. I tried to run, but my feet felt like stone. They left me here, she said. her voice sounding like it came from somewhere far away. The principal locked the door because I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. They wanted me silenced. I looked into her eyes. She wasn't angry, just exhausted and impossibly alone. "Help me," she said. "Find the truth." I asked about the principal from back then. She told me he'd been stealing money from the school and Sarah had caught him in the act. That very night, a random fire broke out. The door had been locked from the outside. No one ever questioned it because his family held real power in the city. I promised Sarah I would find the truth. But suddenly, the room began to shake. The windows shattered into pieces. The smell of smoke grew stronger, even though nothing was burning. Sarah screamed, this time with fury, as if reliving the horror of that night all over again. I bolted out of the room. The next day, I dug through the school's 1994 financial records, buried in a forgotten, dust-covered folder. Inside were falsified reports, signed by the former principal himself. I made copies of everything and sent them to a local newspaper and to former teachers who still remembered that year. Within days, the case was reopened. That night, I went back to the school one last time. I walked into room 13 and placed a copy of the documents on the desk in front of the chalkboard. "I found the truth, Sarah," I said, my voice shaking. "Everyone knows now." The room fell silent. The cold slowly faded. I saw her shape again, but this time she wasn't crying. For the first time, she smiled at me. "Thank you," she whispered. Her form slowly dissolved into light and scattered across the room, like ash carried away by the wind. The cold disappeared. The burning smell was gone. For the first time in that room, I felt something like peace. The story made the local news. The former principal, now in his late 70s, was never brought to justice. He had died years earlier. But Sarah's name was finally cleared. The school board sealed off room 13 for good and turned it into a memorial. I don't work there anymore, but sometimes she still visits me in my dreams. A year passed. Recently, I drove past that town, right by the old school. My eyes caught the third-floor window. For just a second, in the dim light, I saw a silhouette, small, standing alone. I didn't stop the car. Some doors are better left unopened, and some spirits never truly leave.